and found a quarter of Kenya's butterflies.
But the forest is also threatened by growing numbers of local herders. Our East Africa correspondent Peter Greste joined the expedition in the Matthews Range of northern Kenya.
Well, welcome to Camp Laurie and the base camp for this scientific expedition into the Matthews Range in northern Kenya. The ranges extend on both sides of this absolutely stunning little valley right in the middle of the range. It's what the scientists call a sky island, a patch of tropical mountain forest surrounded by a sea of arid lowlands, and the scientists are looking at what's up here. We really don't know. Patrick Malonza is the resident herpetologist, the reptile expert. And Patrick, what have you got here?
Yeah, with me here we have olive toad, which is a typical species which is found in dry and moist savanna. But in this place it's quite unusual to find it. Again, also, I have a lizard, which is a short-necked skink, which is also typical of mainly dry and moist savanna. But in this place it's also moving up to over 1,300 meters.
So even today, there's some signs of unusual activity that's going on up here. Dino Martins, the entomologist, you've been looking at quite a lot of insect species, but butterflies in particular, you've found quite a lot.
So far we've actually found 150 species, which if we get up to 200 would be about a quarter of the species known from Kenya. And that's really remarkable for such an isolated forest massif. We found some really interesting records for Kenya, including species that are more typical of the coasts and one that's more typical of the rainforests along the Albertine Rift further west.
So this is a place where a lot of species come from a lot of different habitats seem to come together.
Yes, absolutely. And it also means that this could be a very old forest. It could have been a forest that actually was a stepping point for species to get from one large area of forest to another, for example, from the Congo to the coast.
Thanks very much. You know, Judith and Bao, you've been looking at mammals, and you've got this gorgeous little baby rat. What is it?
This one is the stray grass rat. It's normally a species that is expected in grassland areas. It's not new to us, something we get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yesterday you found some really interesting bats.
Yeah, that's pretty true. We got some interesting species of bats. These bats are the Cardiodama cor. It's a species which is only restricted to the northeastern part of Africa, and in Kenya it's actually known to be very poorly distributed and actually sparsely distributed. Just kind of the quality of the habitat we have around here is actually well protected. It's very sensitive to habitat change. So it was pretty good to find the species here.
That's really interesting. So there's a lot of things that are going on up here in ecological terms, and I think that's one of the key points about this expedition. The Matthews Ranges have been isolated from other forest areas for about the last 10,000 years, so there is an awful lot of really interesting biology which is taking place up in these very special hills.
Peter Greste.
You're watching BBC News.